Hello everybody, I think I'm on. I'm going to do a quick video of down by the water. I'll get out in a minute. I'm by the water. That's the Lexington over there. And I'm going to do a quick video, but I wanted to read a verse first. Last night I read Obadiah, the prophet Obadiah. And I wasn't going to speak on it. It's one of the minor prophets. I got my little Bible out, and I don't read a lot from it, but I usually quote. But this is verse 7. All the men of thy confederacy, your alliances, have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee have deceived thee, and prevailed against thee, that they may eat thy bread, and lay a wound unto thee. There is none understanding in him. All the men that you had an alliance with have deceived you, and they have peace with you. I'm going to talk a little politics, and then I'll talk Bible, okay? This was the vision of Obadiah on judgment on Edom, okay? One of the many different nations of the Old Testament, Esau, Edom, and the judgment is when you saw your brother Judah, a fellow nation, family man, when you saw them in distress, it didn't really affect you. As a matter of fact, you rejoiced in a way to see the distress of other people, other nations. I'll read a little more, and then I'll get out. I want to walk. Behold, I have sent, it says, an ambassador among the heathen. So God sent a word. It says, you have made yourself, you exalted yourself. A lot of this is kind of the same imagery of the fall of Lucifer. I didn't talk about it too much on the previous videos, but that was something that was covered in Church Unlimited. And it says, because you had borders, you had protection, you had a lot of the same type of thing in Revelation 18 on Babylon, because of your riches and your pride, and you felt in your heart that you were impenetrable. That's the Lexington over there. When I get out, I'll show you the Lexington. But the judgment is, it's a judgment on nations, and the judgment is because you think that no one can ever get you. Therefore, your pride is going to cause your downfall. I think I left my keys in the car. And as I read, as I read it last night, I want you to see the water. That's the Lexington over there. It's a little windy, but it's not as bad as usual, so hopefully you can hear me. And as I read it, I was thinking about our present situation. This is October of 2016. And of course, we're having a highly contested election at this time, and like I said, I don't want to do too much on the particular Trump-Clinton election. But as I watched the media last night, I'll just mention a few things. There were a lot of leaked emails from what we refer to as WikiLeaks in the future, but the emails basically showed that one of the Hillary Clinton people in the past, his name is John Podesta, but they discussed how they could skew the polls, okay? And they discussed it in a way, they said, look, we can kind of rig the system, meaning the polls, and make it look like a particular candidate is winning. Okay, so this is kind of cheating, deception, and the way you do it, I'm familiar with this, some of you might not be. Oh, here's a little windbreak, I might stand here for a second. But the way polls are skewed, for those who follow this, is you just oversample, meaning you take more Democrats than Republicans. You know, if I had a poll that I said, how many people like Protestantism more than Catholicism? How many people like the Catholic Church more than the Protestant Church? Well, say if I just asked 98 Protestants that question, you're going to get more that are going to go a certain way. Say if I asked 98 Catholics and 2 Protestants. So they do that. Well, in the news last night, so this was an email that was leaked, and so Trump rightfully said, see, I told you they have ways of kind of making it look rigged. Well, on the this was PBS News, the news hour, And they said, the lady, one of the women said, Trump brings that up, and this is supposed to be news coverage. She said, but what he doesn't say is that deception that they practice, but that was a 2007 email. It has nothing to do with now. Well, why is that foolish? The point he made was the Democrats, in this particular case, have a history of skewing the polls. Proof was an email was released where it showed that they actually do that. It makes no difference whether you have an email from 2016. If I was a KKK member and you had an email from me that I like to lynch black people, it makes me very happy. And then there was a black man that says, don't vote for John, he's a KKK member and he likes to lynch black people. And then all of a sudden an email comes out from John and it says, I like to lynch black people. But that email was 2007. It has nothing to do with my persuasion. Well, this is the media, okay? So if you have an email that says they practice, okay, that's just one. I could go on and on and on. The whole thing is a disaster, this present thing going on. I mentioned this the other day. Sometimes I go to the dollar store, and look, you get good deals at the dollar store. And I got a piece of cheese. They sell like block cheese that normally would cost maybe $4 in H-E-B, and it's good cheese, like, you know, the block of it. And I thought, oh, I'll get that for $1. I've got it before. I picked up a few other little items. And then I went to hang out with some of the guys. They hang out, and just some of the guys that were hanging out, they're basically homeless. And one of the guys, Albert, you've seen him on the video, he had a little like can of Spam, treat, potted meat, and he broke that out, and I don't eat during the day, but he offered it to one of the other guys named Casanova, which is actually his name. I used to think that was a nickname. That's his name, Casanova. Nice guy, veteran. And so they're all hanging out, and he said, and Albert offered, he said, you want some, Claire, and the other guys, and we got to eat this, and they had crackers. And I've been kind of tired. But I had that $1 cheese in the trunk of my car, because I went to the dollar store before I saw the guys. I kept thinking in the back of my mind, man, I should just go get it. It wasn't that I didn't want to give it up, which I did give it to him. It was I was too tired. I didn't really want to get up and walk to the car. But I felt, no, it's simple. It's not as big. But I want you to go do it, John. You know, I felt God saying that. So I said, oh, Albert, I got something that'll go good with that. So I went, walked a little bit, and got out of the trunk. It was, you know, still good, cold. He said, oh, this is great, John. But, you know, as I sat there, and they all shared a little bit, and then they had work the next day. A lot of the guys work, okay? A lot of the guys work. They argued the other day amongst them. I won't even mention the names. But some were arguing. They said to the other guy, you fly a sign, meaning he stands in the corner, one of them, and asks for help. And the other two said, Albert and Casanova, they don't do that. They don't believe it's right. Albert's funny. He says, look, I'll cheat at cards, I'll do that, but I won't fly a sign. My mother raised me better than that. So I'm just making a point that there's actually standards in the street. Now, when I gave them the cheese, you know, that was not a big thing, but they were sharing it. And you think, John, you just lost your reward. You were going to get a 30, a 60, or 100-fold money back. So let's see, that would have been $30, $60. I'll sacrifice that for the little video. If the cheese was like $10, maybe I wouldn't have told you. I would have got the reward. I hope you all know when I joke on this. I find it interesting. They were happy because today, I was with them yesterday with the cheese. Today, they all had work. A few guys pull up and pick them up for work regularly, and there's a few of them that do it, not all of them do it. And they were excited. And some of them refuse to even get disability. Some are vets that would apply and get approved for disability, and they still don't even want to do that. Casanova is one of them. So I'll just give you a little insight. That one chapter, I'll probably add some of the verses. The verse I just read to you, I think it was verse 7. It said, "The men of your confederacy deceived thee." They actually are watching your so-called peace agreements with us, and they're laughing at you. And I just can't help, when I look at the world stage right now, and I look at what's going on in our so-called alliance with Iran and even Russia, they are laughing at us. They are laughing at us. And we gave much money to Iran this year with the peace deal, and it was a release of money, the Iranian nuclear accord, but it was money given to Iran that was sanctioned. And initially we thought it was only about $400 million that they got in cash and all types of currency, but later we found out it was much more than that, like a lot more. And what did they do with the extra finances we're giving them? This peace deal is supposedly going to slow down the nuclear program of Iran. But it's not going to stop it, it just slows it down. But everybody, including Israel, said, most people said it's a very bad deal. But either way, we said we're attaching no other side agreements, which was a lie, to it. But basically, Iran can do whatever they want with the money we're going to now give to them by releasing sanctions and paying them from all payments that we withheld. And so they sell rockets and they sell artillery to rebels fighting in Yemen called Houthis. And they took those same rockets that Iran provided and shot at our ships right there off the coast of Yemen the last few weeks, shooting at our ships. And the verse I read in Obadiah said, the people that you have a peace deal with, they're laughing at you. They're laughing. Now, the other condemnation on Edom, the country spoken about under judgment in that chapter, is you think that you're strong and you have fortresses and nobody can penetrate, and you believe that you really see yourself as nothing could ever happen to you. And that's a judgment. That's a judgment because God had said, because you view yourselves that way. I watched George Will, the so-called intellectual, but he's a big baseball man. But I heard him say a while back, he said, talking about, I think it was Russia even, he said, but what do you think they can do? If people don't agree with our world politics, look at our position. There was a country, Libya, and the leader of that country by the name of Muammar Gaddafi, and off of the coast of Africa, okay? Egypt is on one side. Egypt, you have Libya, Egypt, and Tunisia, okay? And it's right off of the Barbary Coast. This is where we used to get the term Barbary Coast, some of the original pirating that went forth and the U.S. was involved back in the day. On the shores of Tripoli, from the Halls of Montezuma is just Tripoli, which is Libya. Okay, Libya and Gaddafi, during the time of George Bush, after the invasion of Iraq, Muammar Gaddafi did something that nobody else ever did. He willingly gave up, all on his own, the seeking of a nuclear program, okay? He willingly, openly, honestly said, we're going to stop trying to develop a nuclear program, which seems to be the big thing that the United States wants. We battle with North Korea, we make this deal that's not even going to stop them in Iran. But one country, Libya, and the leader Gaddafi decided, we're just going to stop so we could have better relations with the U.S. Well, eventually, under the Obama administration, with the advice of Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, we went in and backed up that man's murder. We went in and backed up the man's murder. What message did that send to the countries in that region. Why don't we go in and back up, quote, the murder of the leader of North Korea? We can't because they have nukes. Why don't we not want to get into war with Russia, though we're heading that way? Well, they have nukes. So the message we sent was, if you give up your nukes, like Gaddafi did, we'll go in and back up your murder. And the end result of Libya is a total disaster. Now, the people watching that, and the people that have made some kind of alliances with us, I said, Aleppo, which is Syria, look, it's a disaster. And I don't want anybody to think that I back up Assad in the sense of that he's a good man. But Assad, the leader of Syria, if you depose him, which is what the U.S. wants, that place will fall into a disaster and a stronghold for ISIS. That's just a fact. That's just a fact. The United States has an alliance with Turkey. Turkey just killed a bunch of the Turkey, okay, Erdogan, the leader of Turkey. They just killed a bunch of rebels that the U.S. is backing in Syria. Turkey killed a bunch of U.S.-backed fighters, but Turkey's got an alliance with the U.S., John, correct. But they figure, what the heck, everybody else doesn't really honor anything. They're making the U.S. look so foolish. So Turkey, who we depend on because we use their air base in our action in Syria, it's almost, if anybody paid close attention to it, they are laughing at us. Now, I do not believe that we are justified in going and killing anybody unless it's for self-defense, real self-defense. Okay? And I'm not backing Assad in the sense of he's a good man. But when the U.S. and the Western world, the U.S. primarily, when we make statements, I saw on the PBS News also one of the rebel people in Syria who honestly wanted to have change. He said, and this was on PBS News as well, Judy Woodruff, and he said, look, we hoped that the U.S. was going to help us get rid of Assad. That's why we started this whole civil war in our country. And they did the interview showing the rebels and the people that want to kill Assad and change. They showed him in a good light. Now, I understand that. But you could also understand from that interview, he said, when the U.S. makes statements like Assad must go, which President Obama made, that makes the people in the country that maybe would not rise up in a civil war, it makes them rise up because they believe, and according to the man that even gave the interview on the news, he said, when we realized here's our chance to overthrow the leader of our country, because the U.S. began signaling, not only are we also for his overthrow, like Gaddafi, like Mubarak in Egypt, you name a bunch of them. It says, but when the U.S. speaks that way and says, yeah, we think your elections might have been skewed, so we might back up protests in your country. Hillary Clinton said that about Vladimir Putin of Russia. Now, the elections might have been skewed or, quote, rigged. That's a whole other thing I can talk about. The Democrats have been on this thing because Trump said it could be rigged. Look, it could be rigged in the sense of polling and things of that nature, okay? But they were so, every time something comes up, it's like if Trump criticized a Mexican judge, oh, that's the overthrow of the whole judicial system. We can never have that ever. Okay, Trump criticized the election. It might be rigged. Oh, that's overthrow of the peaceful order. Everybody's talking about it, both liberals and conservatives. And then, of course, I heard about 100 statements because I listen to talk radio as well. And the most statements ever that it was a fake election, he's not our president, came from the Democrats. Bush versus Gore, Supreme Court. Okay, there's a federal courthouse right there. So every statement, even Hillary Clinton, even Obama, oh, it's illegal in the sense of it was rigged. Supreme Court rigged it. And Hillary Clinton even made statements that Bush was not a legitimate president. Statements to that effect. because she said the Supreme Court made the decision. It's famous Bush-Gore thing that went to the Supreme Court because they fought over the final result of Florida. This is the Bush-Gore election a while back. But the point is, every Democrat, many, were saying it was rigged, even using those terms. But now they're up in arms. We live in such hypocrisy. Now that prophecy that I read, I won't go long, I hope you get to see the nice water. But that prophecy basically was talking about a people, Obadiah, that felt like they were impenetrable, that their military and their navy, and that you could never stop them. You know, the British Navy was the strongest military in the world when we had our war of independence from them. And nobody would have ever thought that the Americans, the colonists, would win. That's a good history of ours, okay? Nobody ever thought that. Britannia ruled the oceans, right? But we won. We won not because we were a powerful superpower like now. We won because we fought for independence, and we fought with our lives on the line. Okay? Many of the people in countries we're fighting right now, I don't agree, obviously, with their tactics and the things they do, but they're fighting for their lives, okay? They're fighting for their homeland in their minds. So, even this thing that we're doing in Mosul right now, taking back the city of Mosul held by ISIS and Iraq, makes no difference whether we take that city or not, okay? Because even if we take it, because we're in there backing up the Iraqi army, even if we take it, it'll just be a blip on the radar screen, just like the Afghanistan war that's supposedly over, and we're still fighting in Afghanistan. When you go into a foreign country, a foreign land, and you think somehow, no matter how well-meaning we are, that we're going to impose some type of a democracy, you know, that's failed, okay? That has failed. But we have the arrogance that we might even engage in some of these actions for political reasons. Not even because we sincerely believe they're right, which the Mosul thing is a political stunt at the end, right before this election. An American was just killed, blown up, because he stepped on an IED. I think we're arrogant, and I think we don't understand the writing on the wall. Okay? I don't think all is well, regardless of who gets elected. And I think that one verse stuck with me, the one I read at the beginning. The people that you have made peace alliances with, they're mocking you. This is a beautiful city, okay? I'm glad I got to give you another nice view like this downtown. But the kingdom of God is the thing. The consumer confidence, which is a key indicator. You can persuade people to be confident. They could have lost their job. I explained to my daughter how the coal mining industry, the reason Ohio will probably go Trump's way, even though they're saying it won't. So many coal miners in states where coal mining was industry, they were put out of business. And you had actual statements from Hillary Clinton and President Obama. Statements that we are going to put you out of business. Saying it openly. And the result was because of their idea about clean fuel and all. Look, I'm for all forms of fuel. But when you went in that way, you said, we're going to put you out, and they went out. Most of them are not convinced that Hillary means well for them. And a lot of them are working class union people. But some, you could go in later and say, oh no, she's really for you. She made an excuse to say, no, you misunderstood me. That was a lie. And I even watched, I think it was PBS News again. I watched how they tried to say, look, though Hillary and the Obama administration, they added money to help the coal miners that lost their jobs. And then they showed one, I can't believe they used this example. They showed a coal miner who lost his job. But then they were saying, no, we're providing other jobs for them. And training. Look, I understand all that, but it's not working, okay? In reality, it's not worked. You put those people out of business. Some of them killed themselves because they lost their homes and lives. That has happened. So the show, the news show I watched, said, no, look at one of the examples of how we found a coal miner who lost his job. We found him a new job. The new job paid, maybe 1/10 of what he would make in the coal business. And they interviewed him. You know what his new job was? A job for the federal government working to hand out food stamps and welfare to his fellow coal miners who are now out of work. That was the one job that they had. And that was a liberal newscast. They said, no, look at the jobs we provided the coal miners. This one guy got a job working at the welfare office to help all of his unemployed coal workers to file for unemployment food stamps. Why manipulate? If you said you were going to put those people out and you did it, then don't lie now and say you meant it. I understand why you meant it. I don't agree with your policy, but that's what you meant. Say it. Mean it. Okay, so the one thing that makes this practical is that one short prophet, Obadiah, God said, you rejoiced, you were doing well, you felt like you had an impenetrable fortress. I've heard people say this is the Gulf of Mexico, but the two great oceans, the Atlantic and Pacific, I've heard media people say, we have extra safety because of the great borders we have. And Russia sells nuclear-equipped subs with advanced technology right off our coasts. So I think we live in a somewhat of a delusion in this country. This is not to demean this great country. And the people who died for the freedom of the country, that's a good thing. And the kids that are dying now because of political actions that we take, I would be outraged if I was the parents of that kid who stepped on the IED the other day in Mosul. Okay? So I'll end it with this. I felt it was good to do a little video out here, and I might go see some of my friends right now. And you got to see the Lexington. How long did I go? About 30 minutes. Okay? I'll put some of Obadiah, that we call that the minor prophets. It's not that they were not significant. The division in the Old Testament, we say major and minor. It's just divided on the amount that we have from their writings. Okay, Isaiah, major prophet, Obadiah, Micah, others. You got small. This was only one chapter. So when we say the major and minor prophets, it doesn't mean they were not as influential or as important. Some of them might not have been because they didn't write as much, but it's not simply that they were less important. We refer to the minor prophets in the end of our Old Testament, ending with Malachi, simply because not as much is written, or they did not write as much. So let me bless you guys. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face shine upon you. The Lord be gracious unto you and give you peace. God bless.